Hi, it's Stephen here with the Hammers Chat Patron Player Ratings Hammer of the Year video for the 2025-2026 season. Thank you very much for anybody who voted over the season, and there were quite a few votes, as we'll come on to a little bit later. Made my life quite busy, I think, especially on a Sunday evening, Monday morning, for the ratings show. Anyway, here's the rating scale, which you're familiar with, and I always put in, and goes from 0 to 10, with the middle being 5, which is not good, not bad. Anybody who puts on a West Ham shirt probably starts off with a 5 and then gets less or more as their performance dictates. We had 43 matches over the season, including cup matches. The number of ratings that we received over the year was 2,853. So 2,853, me typing in ratings. Imagine that. So the average number of ratings per match was just over 66 and a third. And that ranged from 38 in a match to 103 within one match. And somebody will ask, what match was 38 and what match was 103? Interestingly, both against Man City. The least number of ratings I received was when we played Man City away, and the most number of ratings was when we played Man City at home. Different methods of calculating the Hammer of the Year. Every match has got a Hammer of the match. So it could be who got the most Man of the Matches, Hammer of the Matches, who has the highest average ratings in the matches that they played throughout the year. So in one match, if somebody's got an average rating of 4, next match average rating of 6, their average over the 2 matches would be 5. You can do the same thing for the whole of the season. That doesn't really calculate or allow contributions for the amount of time that somebody had on the pitch, and we'll see a little bit later on that can make a difference in average ratings and also where you come in the Hammer of the Year. So if you look at Man of the Matches, there were, I think, 17 different players who got a Man of the Match award. And the leader in that in the Man of the Matches and got the most number of bottles of aftershave was Somerville, who got 8 Man of the Matches, and least was Disassi, who got half a Man of the Match. Now, how do you get half of the Man of the Match? Well, you get exactly the same score from that in that match as somebody else, down to 2 decimal places. So Somerville, yeah, 8 Man of the Matches, and 16 other players contributed to that. I'm not going to go through them all because you get really, really bored, but the names are there. What I'm going to ask you to do is think of a number, and the number being how many players do you think put on a West Ham shirt, a West Ham first team shirt over the season? Have a quick think about that. First number that comes to mind, and I'll tell you the answer, is 35. 35 players we used throughout the season. It was a long season, and a number of, I think, a large number of players who put on a West Ham shirt. So in this slide, you've got the average game rating for each of the players, including the managers, so Nuno and Potter. Disassi wins that one. And who came second? Herrick. How did he get that for his 1 minute of fame trying to save penalties? But he scored that highly in that match. So if you're going to use that metric as something for the Hammer of the Year, Herrick comes quite high on that, doesn't he? Again, I'm not going to go through them all. Pause the video, have a look. Next slide is going to be the actual figures, but this is the order of players within this metric. as I say, these are the actual figures. As Disasi 6.78, Herrick second with 6.76, then Mavropanos, Fernandez, Somerville. And look at the managers. Nuno 5.3, Potter 2.53 for the matches that he in which he was manager. Now the next slide, which I will hopefully put a link to how I calculated who's got the highest ratings, bearing in mind the time played. I'm not going to go through that on this video because it's a bit it might be a little bit boring for people, but basically you look at the average rating for a particular player, and you look at the proportion of time that that person has played within the season for West Ham. These are the playing factors. So the proportion of time that these players were on the pitch for, and I've also got the managers there. So the proportion of time throughout the season, proportion of playing time that they were manager for. Person who played the most for West Ham, unsurprisingly, was Jared Bowen. Then Fernandez, Mavropanos, Diouf, Somerville, and Souček. Interestingly, Areola had more minutes on the pitch than Hermansson. You kind of had recency bias, don't you? Because it just seems that Hermansson has been playing for been in goal longer over the season, and that's probably because he played the last few matches of the season instead of Areola. Herrick, yeah, here's 1 minute, and also with limited number of minutes, Earthy, Orford, Marshall, Madrid, Igor, etc., and people who've left the club as well. So you got that figure, and you put that into the average rating score, the average game rating score, and here you get the Hammer of the Year. Obviously, the West Ham fans' Hammer of the Year was Mavropanos. He was very, 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 very close, and it was really, really close in this competition between Fernandez, Mavropanos, and Somerville. And then Somerville kind of dipped off towards the end, but Fernandez and Mavropanos were neck and neck really throughout the last few matches of the season, and were very, very, very close. But Fernandez came out on top. Other players are there with the manager, and I haven't put the managers in different colours though. I don't know why I haven't done that, but I have spent too much time with this. I'm not going back and changing it to put them in different colours now. There we are, and these are the figures: 6.12, 6.09, very, very, very close. Pause it if you need to look at the figures. Other things that I looked at, the match with the highest average player rating. So if you look at all the players who played in the match and then average their player ratings, the one that got the match in which we scored highest ratings for our players was our home draw against Man City, where our average ratings for players was 7.3 or 7.29. Match with the lowest average player ratings was our defeat away at Wolves, where the average rating for players was 3.4, 3.38. The match in which we agreed the most about the players. So when we rate the players, I look at how differently us as patrons rate an individual player in that match. The match in which we agreed most on players was the Sunderland home win, and the match in which we disagreed the most was that match where we had the lowest player ratings, the Wolves away match. the player that we most agreed on over the year was Disassi, who was really kind of consistent, or we rated him as patrons. We rated him quite consistently, and agreed on his ratings. The player that we most disagreed on, well, the person that we most disagreed on over the year was Nuno. That's not unusual. Managers' ratings do tend to fluctuate from different patrons. But if you look at the player that we most disagreed on, was Paqueta. The player with the highest rating over the season was Mavropanos in our Man City home match, and the player with the lowest rating was Kilman in the Wolves away match with a 1.39. The player who was most consistently with the most consistent ratings from game to game, so over different games, was Kyle Walker-Peters. Disassi was quite close in that one as well, but Walker-Peters was most consistent in from game to game. So there we are. Depending on where you want to look at it, who's got the most man of the match is Somerville. Who's got the highest average game ratings was Disassi. Who's got the highest ratings that incorporates the playing time was Fernandez. Congratulations, Fernandez. I've also popped up here the Hammer of the Month awards over the season. Fernandez got one of them. Disassi a couple. Tati the last one. Mavropanos, Diouf, Areola, Fernandez, Bowen, Somerville, etc. Okay, and there we are. I hope that was all right. It's not, how long is it? 12 minutes, not too long. Normally a Hammer of the Month video takes about 8 minutes. This had a few extra things in, so that was 12 minutes. Check out, if you want to look at how I calculated the results, do check out this video. Again, that's about 8 minutes long, and it goes into some kind of maths about how I did it, if you want to look at that. Okay, big thank you for all your votes and your reviews of the games, and special thank you to all those people who consistently voted. That we had, I think I can't remember, about 8-9 people did it for 100% of matches, but a good proportion, about 26 people, I think, had more than 85% of the matches that they put votes in for. So thank you so much for that, and I hope you found it worthwhile. Thank you.